to sing. Oh, I'm sorry. For some reason I thought Diane was going to play first. Never mind. We're off to a good start already. Please, we're going to start with hymn number 207, Earth Was Given as a Garden. Please stand and sing as you are able.
Susan Vreeland says that where there is no human connection, there is no compassion. Without compassion, then community, commitment, loving kindness, human understanding, and peace all shrivel. Individuals become isolated. The isolated turn cruel, and the tragic hovers in the forms of domestic and civil violence. Let us be better than this.
Good morning. My name is Linda Brown, and I am a member of COACH. And COACH is the Committee on the Assessment of Congregational Health. And we're just here to act as sounding boards and to work and support our staff as well. And I just wanted to remind everybody, you might have heard this last Sunday too when Nathan was the service leader, but we do have a box out in the entrance hall that you are more than welcome to put comments or questions or concerns or suggestions in. So it's more than just a suggestion box. And we'll take a look at that. Please put your name, though, on the slip when you put it in case we have any questions. We want to be able to come back and, make sure we've got it right. I'd like to extend a special welcome to any visitors today. I'm sure we've got some folks who are here specifically to listen to Mr. Nunn, but I would like to say that you're please welcome to join us downstairs for coffee and conversation after the service downstairs in Adams Hall. And if you're a first-time visitor and you feel comfortable, please feel free to step up and, or not step up, just stand up and introduce yourselves.
Good morning, my name is Chris. Thank you for having me.
Welcome. Okay. During the service, we do have supervised nursery for babies and toddlers, and we also have regular religious education classes for children and youth. If you have any questions about our children's program, please see Natalie Case, who is our coordinator of religious education. If you do need to leave the service for any reason, I don't know about you, but I've had a cough for months now. We do have two other places that are nice and comfortable and warm where we do broadcast the service. So just if you feel the need to leave the meeting house, please see one of our greeters and they'll show you where those places are. Let's remember that we are a welcoming congregation. We welcome all humans regardless of race, sexual orientation, belief system, age, and even the small children, which we don't have too many here. But if they're fidgety while the time they're here, we welcome that too. These little humans are our future, and we welcome them while they are in the meeting house. I did not have anybody hand me any specific announcements today, although we'll have something in a minute from Joni. I do urge you to look through your order of service. There's a lot of information about what's going on and upcoming events and some announcements. So, but today is our Caring Sunday collection, and Joni Tedesco is going to tell us about what that is.
Good morning. My name is Joni Tedesco. I'm part of the Social Justice Committee here at church. And today's Caring Sunday focuses on the Lighthouse Warming Center located in Westland. First of all, I want to thank everybody that helped us reach our goal of collecting 90 backpacks for the Lighthouse Center. And in 2 weeks, we'll be filling them with items such as foil blankets, gloves, socks, hand warmers, and then I'll be delivering them to Lighthouse. I talked to our contact Ginger there in October, and she gave me the good news that this year they've been able to keep the Lighthouse open all night long for those in need, and we know how cold it's been. And they also provide meals during the day for those who need them. So in your order of service today, you'll find an envelope to make donations if you're inclined, and that will go directly to Lighthouse. Thank you so much for, again, your support and donations for this worthy cause. Thanks.
Thanks, Joni, and thanks everybody for all your generosity. This Sunday is also Membership Sunday, and Betty Marshall is going to come up.
Hello. I had made a New Year's resolution many years ago that I wanted to find a home for my family where we would be accepted and where my family would be able to find people that were welcoming to us and people that would be like foster families, since my husband was Japanese and his family was in Japan, and my family was way off in Wisconsin. So we didn't have anybody that was nearby. And when I went to the temples, I had grown up in a Reformed Jewish temple family and very active, but when I visited the temples here, people were not welcoming at all. I would sit in the service and no one would say hello, and afterwards they had a Shabbat where you talk, but no one talked to me. So I thought, well, this isn't really that welcoming. And then too, while I was in Japan, the Reformed Jews went through a change in their presentation, and instead of having Hebrew in the service, they had cut back on the Hebrew. So all these prayers that I had memorized were no longer being spoken. So it seemed very uncomfortable to be in that service. And when I went to some of the Christian services, when they talked about the blood of Christ and you were supposed to swallow a piece of representative of Christ, it just was extremely distressful for me. So those churches were out, and we lived in Farmington Hills off of 14 miles, and there must have been 6 different churches right in the area. And it happened going to the skating rink, I noticed this little church, and I thought, well, I'll check into that, and I didn't know what Universalist Unitarian Church was. And when I came to visit, I was very pleased to find people saying hello and, oh, are you new to us? I don't think I've seen you before. And they'd introduce themselves. And at that time you had name tags, and that was just a joy because I'm not very good with names. And faces I know you from somewhere, but couldn't really recall where. So this was really wonderful. And as I participated here, and my children came to the services and they went to the RE classes, I had the opportunity to learn about UUism in class with them. So I thought this was wonderful. You didn't have to be a member to participate. And my husband, who had never been in organized religious location or Sundays, he was relaxed because it was comfortable attire. You didn't have to wear the business suit and the tie. And the kids were just so happy to be here, and they made friends, and it was a joy to come to the service. And actually, in a few years, he volunteered to be treasurer. So a little push for you people too. There's opportunities here where you can meet others and you can be very welcomed and learn a lot and help each other. And that was another thing about I wanted to find a home where my children would realize that there are other people around that they can help. So I thank you for being such a wonderful, warm congregation and to make my family feel welcome that many years ago. That many years ago.
Thank you, Betty. Oh, and by the way, we still wear name tags. So those of you who are members, if you don't have your name tag on, you should. For just that reason. Now, if you will please join me in your order of service on page 3 for our Litany of Gathering. This is our sacred time and space.
We gather in community to renew our spirits, to explore mystery, and to share our joys and sorrows.
With you, I find strength.
Together we become bound by love and respect.
With me, you can share your deepest self.
Together we learn to understand and to forgive.
We share triumphs.
And they inspire.
We share failures.
And we share our human nature.
We share joy.
And it multiplies.
And we share sorrow.
And it begins to lessen.
If you have any joys or sorrows that you would like to share with us this morning, please come up to the microphone and let us know about them and light a candle if you wish.
Here I am again. My name is Betty, and for those of you that were concerned, and I appreciate you for expressing your concern, I had basal cell carcinoma, and I had a procedure called Mohs, which I never knew anything about, and I would have loved not to have to learn about it, but they have removed any of the cancerous cells. So in a few weeks, I will no longer be having this on, and hopefully I will look normal again.
Hi, I'm Janice. I have a small joy to share. My daughter Katie is with me today. We kind of share going to each other's churches. This week she decided to come to mine. And I have a concern. My niece Elena is going through a rough patch. If you could send her your thoughts, prayers, and good wishes. Thank you.
Well, if you want to take one of those, yeah, and just light from the candle in the middle.
Hi, I'm Will. I'm going to tell you today because, well, I have a little small joy. Because my dad is coming back and we're going to pick him up from the airport.
Absolutely.
Good morning, I'm Kelly. We used to be a member here a while back, and some of you know that my wife just passed. Well, this Saturday we're going to have a celebration of her life. You're all invited. I haven't gotten out, I'm not real good electronically, so getting emails and texts out, I'm not real good at, but you're all invited, and thank you for welcoming welcoming me back.
We light this candle for the unspoken joys and sorrows among us. Now, if you'll join me on hymn number 147, when all the peoples on this earth, we're only going to sing the first two verses, verses 1 and 2, and please stand as you're able.
Good morning. We have a very special celebration this morning. So I don't know if you noticed, but I had put a bulletin board up downstairs, the RE bulletin board, with what in RE we're calling the UU of the month. So we'll picture somebody as a child, and then as a congregation, we'll try and guess who that person is. And I've been posting more pictures, and as I posted more pictures, the person got older and it got a little easier to guess. And some of you did guess, but for those who haven't gotten it yet, the UU of the month is Dorothy Richards. And so we're celebrating Dorothy today. We're so glad that you're with us. So I have two little things. I have a gift for you. And then as a congregation, I have a song that we would love to sing to you as well. So Diana will play through once, and then we'll sing it all together.
We love you, Dorothy.
please join me in our words of offering? We give generously to support this church where love, justice, and equality inspire our acts of service and compassion. We dedicate these gifts to all that we stand for within the Unitarian Universalist tradition. Please, let's join together for a moment of silence or meditation or prayer. Community will find one. Reverend Nunn began his journey as a student of Wicca and has found the principles of Wicca to be the central pillar of his philosophy. It is his goal to help as many as possible to find the path to enlightenment and joy in life. Reverend Nunn.
Good morning. My name is Stanley Nunn. I am the Wiccan priest at Pagan Pathways Temple. And it's been, a lot of people know me by different names. I've been known as Stan or Stanley. I also, in the pagan community, go by the name Nishan, which is what we consider to be our magical name, the name that we give ourselves versus the names that we are given. But that's a long story. Suffice it to say that I consider it to be an honor every time I'm allowed to speak in this place. The Unitarian philosophy is one that I think is inspiring to humanity, a way of including everyone in what it is that we do, instead of looking for ways to separate ourselves, to divide ourselves into different groups. Oftentimes we sacrifice the power of unity for the short-lived feeling of being right. Everyone wants their particular group or tribe to be the one that has the right idea, instead of looking at the commonality between all of the different philosophies and all of our different peoples. I consider what's done in this place to be inspirational towards what I consider to be my life's goal, and that is the enlightenment of humanity. We as a species have lingered a little bit too long for my taste in ignorance, and it is our responsibility to push forward the next stage of evolution in our species, to become more, to think better of ourselves, and to do better by each other. So, I'm a skeptic. I was one of those people that when I came to faith, I was raised Jehovah's Witness, and I learned early on that philosophy didn't really sit well with me. I had too many questions and I asked them. My parents were very outgoing people, and they wanted to make sure that their children were outgoing as well, so they pushed us to speak up and to ask questions, especially about things that are important to us. So my father, although he was in the leadership of our Kingdom Hall, he questioned and asked, that we question as well. And when you ask certain questions in certain groups, people tend to get a little upset with you. So I got into a little trouble asking questions. But my parents encouraged this nature, and it stuck with me throughout my life to question everything. So when I come to any idea of philosophy that's new, I question and I ask. I don't just accept because it's popular or because someone says I should. So when I became Wiccan, I questioned. I challenged myself. I challenged the belief in the philosophy to inspire me, to be more, to ask more of me. And the answers that I got sat well with me. One of the things that I found to be attractive was the idea that we are not separate from the natural world. A lot of philosophies, especially in the modern era, teach us that, we are superior to the natural world. They teach us that we are separate from the natural world, that we are isolated in our existence, and that we are born alone and we die alone. I rejected this philosophy rather early. Another reason I got in trouble. But it didn't seem to make sense to me. Now, I won't go into the long journey that brought me here, because it was long and sometimes boring and very troubling, we'll say. I questioned things in places where it was not popular to question. But where I am now, I've gained some level of understanding of why I'm here, what my job is. And that's to bring people together of different philosophies, different ideas, different backgrounds, to help people to see the similarities between us rather than the differences, to find common ground instead of falling on tribal differences and the things that have often kept us apart. So when I was asked to come up with a topic of what we're going to speak about today, or what I was going to speak about today, I thought about connectedness, the truth in unity. The idea that we are separate is fairly common. If you ask the average person, they feel at some point alone. They feel isolated. They feel like nothing I do matters. And I found out why. Apparently, there's a belief that is being, I guess the best word to put it is forced upon society these days. And it's that nothing that you do matters, that everything is already established, that the world is the way it is, and that there's nothing you can do to change it. I've been involved in voting campaigns where people have told me that my vote doesn't matter. Nothing that I do matters. And that's simply not true. The reason for this is that we've been given an illusion of what life is, and we've been told that this is truth. We've been told that we're alone. We've been told that you have to struggle on your own to get things done. We've been led to believe that we're separate from one another by whatever arbitrary boundary they place, you know, whether it be class or religion or race. They force us or encourage us to separate ourselves into tribes and groups so that we can be right rather than be unified. And it's these illusions that cause this feeling of separation and aloneness. And that isolation, as Susan Vreeland said, causes cruelty to spring forth. We feel victimized. We feel vulnerable. Iris Murdoch says that we live in a fantasy world, a world of illusion. The great task in life is to find reality. The beautiful part is that every now and again, life reminds us of what's real. We're reminded through events that take place in our lives. Sometimes those events are troublesome and they are death. Sometimes they are joyous and they are birth. There are events that remind us of what really matters in this world. Besides all the cell phones and television shows and all the things that we're supposed to be programmed to believe, we are given these gifts that wake us up from the stupor that we sometimes fall into, that convinces us that these illusions are real. Daniel Borson says that the greatest obstacle to discover is not ignorance. It is the illusion of knowledge. One of the hardest things that I do is to convince pagans that what it is that we do is real, because they often feel isolated because they've been set apart from the main religions of the world and of the country that say that this is right and this is wrong. They don't have a book that tells them what they're supposed to think and how they're supposed to live, so they're on a path of discovery and experience that sometimes, you know, causes them to doubt, you know, who they are. And so we oftentimes spend time talking about what's real to you. What have you actually experienced? And was this experience real to you? Did it help you to grow and inspire you to be something more than you were yesterday? And when they have these experiences, they grow and they become more, if they realize that they're true. The only serious obstacle in development and growth, in my opinion, is certainty. We've been convinced of what's right and wrong. We're inundated with it in the media. We're raised to believe it through certain institutions that tell us that this is right and this is wrong. They give us these standards of behavior and thought that we get locked into, and we become certain. Once you're certain of a thing, it becomes your truth. Once you have convinced yourself that this is the only way to think, you're locked into that paradigm. In order to learn, in order to grow, we have to have room for new knowledge. We have to have room for new experience. We have to be open to ideas that are foreign to us, to people that are foreign to us. In order to have community, we must be willing to accept that I might be wrong. I might not know everything. I have this on my Facebook page, and I tell people all the time, I'm a student of universal knowledge. I'm not certain of anything. I know that everything is possible, and that anyone that I meet could be either student or teacher in our interaction. That I have to be in a constant state of learning in order to continue to grow, to become the type of priest that I want to be. The moment I have convinced myself that I know everything, my cup becomes full. Once my cup is full, then no new knowledge can come in, and stagnation takes place. Muhammad Iqbal says that we must rise above sectional interests and private ambitions to pass from matter to spirit. Matter is diversity. Spirit is light, life, and unity. I often study science. And the last time I was here, I spoke about quantum physics as one of the pillars of my philosophy as well. And what I like about this particular quote is that if you ask the average person, who are you? Show me who you are. They'll point to a mirror. They'll point to their body and they will tell you, this is me. This is who I am. They'll show you a picture of what they look like, and they'll tell you that this is who I am. And that's commonplace. But again, it's an illusion. We are more than just the shell that we inhabit. The truth is that we are extremely complicated creatures. And to simplify us into simply a human form is to negate the beauty of our connectedness, to negate the spirit that lies within, to not acknowledge that there is a connection between all thinking creatures, between all living beings. There's I was just speaking with one young lady here about a doctor, Dr. Emoto, who did an experiment with water where thought was able to affect the molecular structure of the water. And they proved this in 140 different experiments that they've done around the world, that human thought has the ability to shape not just our ideas, but the physical world around us. That we as beings have the ability to affect our environment on a very fundamental level. This is not some metaphysical idea from 3,000 years ago. It's today in modern science where they've discovered that we are more than we've been told. We're more than we've been led to believe. And that this ability to connect to our environment in a direct way is common to all of us. It's a power that we've been given as a natural part of our being. The illusions that we prescribe to help us to forget that. They help us to lose sight of what we are and how we're connected. Hermann Hesse says that wisdom is nothing but a preparation of the soul, a capacity, a secret art of thinking, feeling, and breathing, thoughts of unity at every moment of life. What you believe to be true becomes true. This is the philosophy that I stand by. Because regardless of whether or not you're a philosopher of the ages or a common man of today, it remains true. If you believe that you are isolated and alone, you will work to continue that belief. When you become certain of this belief, then you will solidify that as your reality. If you believe that you are part of something greater than yourself, then you will reach out and you will connect. In connecting with other people, in connecting with your environment, you have the opportunity to grow and to learn more. Anthony D'Angelo says that without a sense of caring, there can be no sense of community. Why would we reach out? Why would we take the chance of someone we don't know bringing us harm? Because at some level, we all remember that we're part of the same being, that we're part of the same group of individuals, and that connection is a constant, pervasive thing. That connection is what brings us to a place where community can happen. But we first have to care about something other than ourselves. We first have to take a moment to say, someone else matters besides me and my wants. And in doing so, we open ourselves to new things. I believe in the good in the world. I'm what some people call a hopeless optimist. I believe that all people are inherently good, and that they simply need to be reminded of this good in order to do good things. The reason that I'm willing to put myself out there, to sacrifice, to do for others, is not for any benefit of myself or fear of punishment or some sort of reward, but because I truly believe that every person deserves to be treated with respect. Every person deserves to be loved. Every person deserves to have someone care about their existence. And I think this is common. But the illusions that we've been given force us to sometimes choose fear. And that fear isolates us. It is our responsibility as human beings to aspire to be more than that and to fight against that fear and to reach out even when it's not convenient, even when it's not popular. It is our responsibility as human beings to take chances to do right by people. I get told by I had a heart attack in 2015, and the people in my life got very worried about me because one of the things I had done right before I had the heart attack was I pushed a car for some people out of the road, and they said, you got to calm down, you got to, take care of you, self-care, and that's true. And so 3 days ago, I was headed home, and I saw a woman sitting in her car in the middle of the road, stranded, and I wondered, should I stop? I mean, I do have to worry about me, right? I have to be concerned about my health, right? But she was scared, and she was alone, and cars were whizzing by at 50 plus miles per hour. And so I got out of my car, and I went over and I pushed her out of the way. Not because I wanted a reward or not because I wanted anybody to think I was great. I didn't even introduce myself. I just pushed her out of the way, said, have a good day, and I moved on my way. But because it was what needed to be done. And that goodness in people, I think, is inherent in everyone. We've all done that. We've all gone out of our way for no reason to help someone who needed it, just because it needed to be done. Just because we understood that it was the right thing to do. Loretta Lynch says that the good in this world far outweighs the evil. Our common humanity transcends our differences, and our most effective response to terror is compassion. It's unity, and it's love. I worry, given common times, that people will succumb to fear, will succumb to hate. And that makes me afraid. I'm afraid for my children. I'm afraid for our future. I'm afraid for what's going to become of our country and our world. And that fear is palpable. It's real to me. So, I look back on my teachers. My father, also named Stanley, who taught me that when the bully down the street was bothering me, tomorrow you walk right up to him and you punch him in the face. You don't run away from him. You don't let him chase you down the street. You stand up to him and you fight. You fight for your right to walk to school without being harassed. You fight for your ability to stand as a person without being bullied. And he'll respect that. And he did. I got beat up, but I learned a valuable lesson because after that he didn't bother me anymore because I wouldn't run from him. I look back on the philosophy of my drill instructor who said, it's okay to be afraid. Get up and do it anyway. I don't care how scared you are. I don't care how dangerous this is. Do it anyway. So when I have these fears, I take action. Not because, not out of panic, but out of a resolve that anything that scares me, I have to do. Anything that causes me to retreat from my fellow man, I have to challenge. Anything that tells me that we're alone, that forces isolation, I have to do battle with because it's a lie, a dangerous one. There is no room for passiveness when it comes to fear, because there's a battle that will be fought every time you're afraid of something, every time you're afraid of reaching out to your fellow man, every time you're afraid to make that connection with your neighbor or that new person, every time you're afraid to make that connection, there's a battle that's won between you and fear. If fear wins, then it becomes habit, and it's easier next time to isolate someone else. It's easier next time to not make that connection and to not reach out. Community is courage. It's the willful act of opening yourself up to other people, to building something that is greater than the sum of its parts. Coretta Scott King said that the greatness of community is most accurately measured by the compassionate action of its members. You'll notice she didn't say the compassionate thoughts or the compassionate beliefs, because there's a number of people in this world who have very compassionate beliefs that they don't act upon. They have very compassionate ideas that sit idle in their brain. Community, by its definition, is action made manifest. It's one person getting up on a Sunday and coming to a congregation to meet with their fellow congregants. It's one person reaching out to someone who's homeless and providing them with something that they need through a shelter or individual interaction. It's a group of individuals who've decided to take action rather than isolate, who decided to join hands instead of hoping that everyone else can, do it on their own. The willingness to do for others when there's no necessarily immediate benefit to yourself other than the fact that I get to do something nice for someone. I get to be loving. I believe love is spread through giving. It grows through giving. And the act of purposely taking this risk, purposely opening yourself up to other individuals, purposely drawing them into your world and sharing yourself with them is a willful act of love. And this is what community is based on. It's not just an arbitrary name. It's something you do, the type of people that you are. I want to thank you for allowing me to speak today. I tend to get a little long-winded, so I'm going to cut myself a little short here. I want you to know that I come here in part because you guys scare me. I'll be honest. But I like that. I like that you scare me. I like that you're intelligent. You're aggressively intelligent people. I like that. Because it means that you can tell when someone's genuine and when they're not. You can tell when someone is bringing you something worthwhile and when they're not. So I appreciate you guys giving me the opportunity to come and to speak, and I hope that what I've said has been of some value. Thank you.
Our last hymn is hymn number 347, Gather the Spirit. Our closing words are from Psalm 133. How rare it is, how lovely, this fellowship of those who meet together. And please enjoy listening to Diana.
And it's easy because it's easy to retreat to our camps. We want to be, we want to have our philosophy heard, but when we're challenged, it's easy to back away and say, no, I'm not with those guys.
And just to say, I don't even want to listen to this anymore.
Exactly.
I'm not engaged.
Warrior. Yes, yes, you look